Hey, hey, what's that smell? That is the sweet hue of independence, and since around this time, about 240 years ago, the USA became independent, I decided to celebrate it by experiencing what the Americans do best: killing people. So the Second World War has been the staple of the media for quite a while now, spawning countless books, movies, TV shows, songs, and of course video games. But whilst you have your list of mainstream titles like the older Call of Duties, Medal of Honors, Brothers in Arms, Red Orchestra, Company of Heroes, Hearts of Iron, War Thunder, Battlefield 1942, Wolfenstein and Day of Defeat, there are a few hidden gems worth talking about which have stayed under the radar for a few years now, which have actually culminated a cult following. I'm talking of course about the Men of War series, a set of real-time tactics games on the Eastern, Western and Pacific fronts of World War II. In general they play in a way similar to Company of Heroes, with only far more micromanagement and troop types, but we'll see a lot of that later on. The gameplay element which makes it the most unique alongside its brethren is a direct control mechanic. By using the left alt button you can take control of a unit you have selected and you can move it around and shoot them. Be it a single soldier, car or even a tank. The concept alone sets it aside from other World War II RTSs, and later on we'll see how it works in practice, but before we take a look at the game itself, let's have a look at the series' history, as this one is pretty interesting. Okay, this one may get a little bit confusing, so I'm going to take it slow. Whilst the original game in the series, Soldiers Heroes of World War II, was developed by the UK-based company Codemasters, the one we'll be looking at today, as well as all games post-2009, were developed by the German company Digital Mindsoft. Jesus, a mouthful. They're best known for the Men of War games, but they've also delved into other strategy titles. Of all the games, I've only played the two Assault Squad games, the first of which was a standalone DLC to the original Men of War, and the second I guess was a sequel to the standalone DLC. Now the game's publishers is the Russian 1C company. Now here's where it starts to get a little bit confusing. 1C are a business software development company who are virtually unheard of in the Western world. They develop cloud storage systems for businesses, a kind of way to link all the computers for a company. Your school or workplace might have a similar system in place. Now their product, 1C Enterprise, is big in Russia, to the point where 1C is a business powerhouse over there, so it's only natural for them to dabble into business software's brother from another mother, the virtual entertainment industry. After having a quick look online, it seems that 1C deals almost exclusively with games from World War II, such as Theatre of War, Pacific Fighters, Battle of Stalingrad and of course Men of War. It just seems a little weird to me that a company that primarily deals with business software and accounting would publish video games set in World War II. Like, Warner Brothers and Sony produce the right kind of media to begin with, so it makes sense for them to enter the industry. Maybe I'm just going insane. Anyway, I found that little nugget of information interesting. And before I forget, did I mention that Digital Mindsoft also outsources their development to a Ukrainian company? It sort of explains why some of the voice acting in Men of War is so terrible.
As a reward for your progress, the battalion grants you additional resources and access to the commandos.
Now I picked this game up for about £7 in a game, whilst picking up a monitor from another store, and I was actually astonished as to how cheap the game was, to say it was only made the year before, 2014. Well, now that I've played it, I know why. Remember how earlier I said it was like a sequel to a standalone DLC? In reality, it's more like a DLC to a standalone DLC. It adds little more in the way of content, few new maps, updated graphics and a refined map editor, but aside from that it's pretty bare. Not to say it isn't good, mind you, I don't regret buying it at all, only if you're short on money and you have the first Assault Squad, you're probably better off just sticking with it. Let's look at the options menu. This game has a lot of options, and I mean a lot. You can customise pretty much everything. This goes across the board, even to the audio settings. It offers more than some A-list games I've seen in recent months. Then we get to controls, of which there seem to be a lot. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of micromanagement in this game. It also has an option to activate and deactivate mods, a feature which I actually crave in nearly all games. Next, let's get to the meat of the game. There are 5 playable nations: the USA, the British Commonwealth, the Japanese Empire, the Third Reich and the USSR. Each nation has 5 or 6 single player scenarios to play, which is a decent number when you think about it. My only gripe here is that all the maps fall into one of these categories: attack, defend, tank defend and sneaky beaky, which is playing as special forces behind enemy lines. And since Liberty is in the air, I think it's only fitting to liberate a beachhead in Normandy, and of course we're playing as the US of A.
Welcome to Normandy, Major. Our troops have successfully captured the beachhead, and we are now tasked with advancing into this heavily defended town. Our troops are counting on you.
Now this is an attack map, so our objective is to advance and capture the various command points scattered across the map. Now that we're here, I can bring up a point I've been wanting to make. Many of you may see this game and want to compare it to Company of Heroes, which is honestly my first natural reaction, but I'm going to have to stop you right there. Whilst they may seem aesthetically similar, the concepts and all, they're very different games. Whilst they're both, in my opinion, really good, to compare them would be like comparing a rare vintage Dom Pérignon to the hooch the crazy homeless man across the road makes with discarded banana peels. Company of Heroes is a well-polished RTS with realistic atmosphere, whereas Men of War is a tactically focused military simulation with a hearty sprinkle of cocaine, which is just enough to induce shell shock to the player, and here's why. This lets you micromanage each soldier to fit certain duties. Now this is good because you can give them whatever weapons you need, as well as allowing you to use smaller units and actually employ real martial tactics like flanking into the game.
The Germans are blocking.
Now what's bad? Well, the micromanagement is a bitch. It's like a goddamn ant colony out here, where each ant has just got anxiety problems and doesn't quite know what they're supposed to be doing, so you need to guide them along like their mum so they kill Germans the way you want them to. It's a burden I'm forced to carry alone in a world gone mad. To add more troops to the game, use the menu at the side and then select where you want them to go, which uses MP, which is gained through advancing through the map. The more land you own, the more the MP counter goes up. So a patient player can build up a pretty killer army if you can fend off enemy attacks for long enough. You get a large selection of troops to choose from, such as regular infantry, AT troops, flamethrowers, snipers, and later on you can get US Rangers and airborne troops. The last two are special units which are different from every nation. For example, the Commonwealth gets SAS troops in the place of Rangers and British Commandos who arrive in jeeps instead of a parachute bearing airborne. You also get a nice selection of support weapons too, as well as a variety of tanks once you clear the roadblocks. The game also lets you slow down or speed up the game time, which helps cope with the micromanagement. Like I said earlier, you can control individual troops using the Alt key and WASD, which can be fun when you have a tank or field gun, but can be a little clunky with the infantry. Now here's where I've got to apologise for something. You may notice that I'm getting more FPS lag whenever something blows up. Well, that's because I'm recording with the textures on Ultra. This has never happened on my PC before, and it's not a bad PC by any means, but I figured I could get away with it. I guess not. Here's where you see the good in all that micromanagement though. We can employ real tactics into the game. Flanking is a tactic I tend to use a lot. Notice how the enemies react realistically to the situation, diving out the way grenades or even throwing them back, hitting the dirt when shots go off, opening fire when reloading. These are the signs of some good programming. Now you still have to be careful with your own troops, mind you, it's not difficult to get them killed. Now that I've taken the left flank, it's time to call in the Rangers to take the right. Troops like these are unlocked after taking the first few points and come in a carrier with a 50 cal so you can tear shit up. These guys carry everything, smoke grenades, LMGs, carbines, AT equipment, you name it. They're basically all the other units rolled into one, making them rather overpowered against infantry and light armour. The gameplay can be tense at times though. With enemies a mere stone throw away from your men, one grenade can truly fuck up your day. This further proves my point about the micromanagement. You could be attacking 3 places at once and have to deal with it all at the same time. Now you could prioritise on one side but risk losing the other to the enemy. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. The physics can lack sometimes, like here. I misthrow a grenade and nearly get this guy a one-way trip to the infirmary. Now, it's not all fun and games, as the more you push forwards, the more they can throw back at you, and the Wehrmacht is one dog you don't want to corner. Come on, that's it. Get reach, you son of a bitch. Just a little more. Come on. Come on. Damn it! The destruction physics on the other hand are pretty good. Tanks behave a tank would when it's driving through someone's house. Once the M4A3 Sherman rolls into town, the party gets started. Now we get the special units, airborne. Be careful placing these guys so they never quite land where you need them to. Just go ask General Patton. Damn it!
Know what hit them.
Shit! Come on! Seriously? Woohoo! Now the tank's here, I can finally use it to scare off Jerry. Kaboom! Tanks are brilliant, there's so much to consider. The angle of the shot, the distance, the type of round to use, whether using the coaxial or whole machine gun. They really outdid themselves with it. There are plenty of tanks to choose from too, the Sherman, the M24, the M10 Wolverine, and something called a Jumbo, which I can only hope is some kind of elephant.
So they thought they could just sit there and wait for us. Well, let's have our pilots show them how wrong they are.
Next we get the ability to call in airstrikes from a P-51 Mustang. I never understood why airstrikes is in quote marks here like it's not really an airstrike. What else is it going to be? Snoopy with aviator goggles sat in his doghouse? Jesus Christ, it's utter carnage. The ones who aren't dead are cut down as they're trying to run. Another great mechanic here is that you can loot enemy vehicles for supplies. Here I used the TNT from a disabled German tank to finish it off. Now here is where the fun stops. The enemy has rocket artillery and will obliterate my men if we advance, so I need to wear them down with airstrikes before we continue. So I've managed to take the next line of defence easily, so I sent my airborne boys behind enemy lines to disable that damned artillery. Wow, they're behind enemy lines with a mission only to have it go haywire and be forced to repel a German attack and to have all but one die. These soldiers obviously went to the Abridged Too Far school of carrying out covert operations. Oh, here comes the build-up. I'm rallying my forces for one last push. However, the Hun aren't having any of it and are throwing all they have at me.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Here comes the big guns. This tank is called the Calippo, I think, and has rockets mounted on it. What's the cure for rockets? More rockets! And with that, the day is ours. The last of the German resistance is crushed, and this quiet town in Normandy is littered with the bodies of those who have died. Liberty certainly does come at a price. Final thoughts. I love this game. Despite all its shortcomings in the way of micromanagement, I still find it an absolute blast to play. Each new game is a different story. Who knows how it could end? I'm feeling like I'm watching over the boys in my favourite war films like The Longest Day, seeing how each soldier, each unit plays a part in the war, running like clockwork. Do I recommend it? Well, if you can see through the micromanagement, then yes, by God I do. Thank you for watching. You can see more like this on my channel, or if you're looking for more reviews, guides and news, then visit trygame.net. It's a website I'm a part of which offers all which is related to games. Tune in next time to see more from my library.